It's not all that often that I come out for a walk looking for something in particular, but today is one of those days. I'm actually going to be looking for wild strawberries today. Right here we've got wild raspberries. These are raspberry canes. Are there any fruits on there? Doesn't look like it. We might find a raspberry or two as well. You never know. Now I've come to this particular location. This is Crab Wood near Winchester. This is a piece of managed woodland that's managed by copsing. And what I mean by that is every now and again they choose an area, cut it down and let the trees regrow. And that produces poles and sticks, which historically would have been used for making fences and things, just been left to rot there, which is not a bad thing. And then the plants, mainly hazel, grow back up again and produce lots more tall, straight sticks. They would be used for making charcoal, making fences, baskets, those sort of things. That's a hazel tree there that's regrowing after being cut last year probably. So these little stumps here you've got with lots of fresh new growth. Next year that'll be taller than I am, and then it will grow into poles. Now what will happen here in this woodland is, because the canopy's been taken away, the forest floor gets a chance to grow some different plants. So there'll be an eruption of different ground level plants here. Next year there'll be a profusion of undergrowth here, and that will flourish for a year or two until the canopy closes in again and suppresses it. And it's places like this where it's been cut, but I want one where it's been cut the year before last, where I'm most likely to find wild strawberries. The other place where you will find them, but not in such profusion, is the edges of paths. So they like a woodland environment, but obviously they need a little bit of light. And so they're very often found at the edge of a path. I haven't actually even seen a single strawberry leaf yet, but I know they do grow in this area, so we'll keep looking. I did see something red down there, but that's not a berry at all. That's I think that might be a little gall of some sort. A rose gall, maybe? That's definitely a rose bush that it's growing on. Let's just see if I can spot some strawberry leaves. Nothing yet. We've got down here some potentilla, which is very similar looking, and we've got bramble leaves, which again in their young form are quite similar to strawberry leaves. What I'm looking for is something that is in every way similar to a garden strawberry, but just scaled down, and I've just seen one down here. So these are strawberry leaves here, and you might recognise that those resemble strawberry leaves like you might have in the garden. And there is a wild strawberry. Tiny, tiny little wild strawberry. And that's, well, they do get a bit bigger than that, but that's about as impressive as they get, really. So, time for a taste. And yes, I'm not going to take it home and wash it. So, tiny wild strawberry. Now the thing is with these, is what they lack in size, they more than make up for in flavour and aroma. They are just incredibly intense strawberry flavour. And so if you get a chance, it's well worth seeking them out. So I can see a sort of a clearing through here. Let's have a look in there and see if that's the location that or the sort of location that I'm looking for. So we've got some hazel trees here that are about as tall as I am, which indicates that they were cut the year before the ones we just looked at. This could be the location where we find more. but it doesn't look like it. Maybe over here in the sunny spot. I can see ash seedlings, lots of ash seedlings. Can't see any strawberry foliage there. Let's have a look over in this direction. This is the general look of the undergrowth that we're looking for, so not exactly completely covered with undergrowth, but where the forest floor growth is recovering. However, none of these are the right plant. These are all ash seedlings here. Okay, back to the path and we'll keep on looking. So here you can see a location that's been copsed a good few years ago. And so there's lots and lots of there's a thicket of poles like this. And in a few years' time, they'll come and clear cut this, either haul away those poles or leave them to rot, and it will all start again. Right, we've got more wild strawberry foliage down here. That's what that is. I can't see any fruit. Now it might be that we will only find that one berry. That would be unfortunate, wouldn't it? I have brought a small container with me today. It's very unlikely that I will find enough berries to make it worth taking them home, because they're pretty sparse, and even when you find them in comparative abundance, you're still only going to find a handful of them. So these are very much something to just enjoy while you're out and about in the woods, than they are to try to take home and make into jam or anything like that. You're very unlikely, unless you're incredibly lucky, you're very unlikely to find them in huge abundance. So lots more of the foliage again down here. That's all strawberry foliage there. But I'm not seeing any of the fruit. Eva! Hey! Eva! Eva's seeing a squirrel. Come on! So again, you can see this bit, apart from the mature trees, has been cut clear. If you look on a map of England, you'll see loads and loads of tiny little bits of woodland in amongst farmland called something copse. And the copse was where they did copsing, like this. So copsing or coppicing, where they would clear cut, allow it to regrow, and then harvest poles and sticks and canes and withies. I'm really not seeing very many wild strawberry plants here, at least not anything. No, it's mostly brambles here. It's been quite a dry spring, so it might be that we're not going to see very much. So it might well be that that one strawberry I found more or less as soon as I got here is going to be the only strawberry I get to eat today. I hope not, because I'd like to show you a little bit more about them. So these plants live on a kind of knife edge between being under cover of the canopy and being in full sunlight. And so they do tend to live on the borders of woodland, and in the deeper woodland they will survive, but they won't often fruit. So you might find the plants there and they'll be propagating by runners like common strawberries, like garden strawberries do. There's another one down there. Right, this could be my chance to get the thumbnail actually, because that's only the second one I've seen today, and it might be the last. So again, tiny little berry. Well, it's not technically a berry. Pedants will say it's not, it's a compound fruit, but it's called a berry because it kind of resembles a berry. So lots more strawberry foliage here, but I'm not seeing any more fruit at all. It might be that the birds have beaten me to it. I am here in the afternoon, and so it could be that the blackbirds have already been all the way through here and picked all the fruit. And you know, fair enough, good luck to them. Now you can see a couple of fruits there that have dried out and are breaking down, and the seeds will just fall into the soil and they will sit there in the soil until the next opportunity to grow comes along. The seeds for wild strawberries can stay dormant in the soil for years and years. What is it? What? What are you woofing at? I think that's a leaf. It's a leaf with a bit of bird poop on it. I don't know what you did there, you spooked yourself out. Weird. Okay, anyway, so my second wild strawberry. Every bit as good as the first. Like I say, they're tiny, they're not particularly juicy, and yeah, they've got little crunchy seeds. But the flavour is just completely way beyond most varieties of cultivated strawberries. They're just aromatic and intensely strawberry. Now, this could be a productive spot here. Might be I'm a bit late in the year actually as well. It's towards the end of June now, and the season for wild strawberries may well be pretty much over. So this is a plant down here that you might mistake for wild strawberry. This is called Herb Bennett. Eva, come on. This is called Herb Bennett, which is related. It's got quite similar sort of leaves, and it has these weird little flowers, little fruits that do resemble a kind of hairy strawberry. So you might see that in a lot of the same places. It does like the same general kind of habitats as wild strawberries. So in addition to that being a kind of red herring, it's also a useful indicator species, because if you find that, you might find wild strawberries in the same general location. A bit more sort of dappled shade here, and lots of wood spurge growing up. I'm not going to go traipsing through here because of ticks and things. There's a lot of deer in this area, but there we go. That's a wild strawberry leaf, and you can see, if you're familiar at all with garden strawberries, you can see how similar that is. It's just smaller, a bit more delicate. I will also show you some footage of wild strawberry flowers, which I saw earlier in the year at Old Winchester Hill, and very much like, again, cultivated strawberries, they just look like a strawberry flower, a little yellow centre with 5 white petals. There's that butterfly again. Let's see how close we can get. Always a compromise between getting close as fast as you can and leaving enough time that the butterfly's finished feeding on the nectar. Nice. What are you eating? It's either going to be grass or poo, isn't it? That's grass, okay. Here again, woodland products, mostly hazel, I would say, some ash in there. A mixture of ash and hazel, these logs. And it was a log kind of like that one that I cut my walking spoon out of. This way, Eva. Eva. This way. There's hedge wound work there. Covered that in a different video. You'll see that pop up in the using apps to identify plants video, which may or may not be published at this time. Here's another little plant actually, it's worth knowing. This is called Self-Heal. It's a plant in the mint family, and it has very classical sort of mint family flowers, these little lipped flowers. But the flowers are born in a kind of cluster from that structure in the middle there. Kind of resembles a small pineapple. This is called Self-Heal because people used to use this as a kind of antiseptic medicine. Crush it, dress cuts with it. It's mildly antiseptic, and so yeah, it's called Self-Heal because you can heal yourself with it. Probably not as effective as TCP, but once upon a time that's what people had. Now here's an area where we might find more wild strawberries than we have done before, because it's a permanent clearing, so there's a path here and there's a kind of verge at the side, and the verge is cut down frequently, so, and I can see wild strawberry plants in here, but are there any fruits? Maybe. Oh, there's one. So you can see they are just tiny little clusters, almost mostly seed. I'm just going to stop video and take a photo of that. Okay, while I had the video camera off for that photo, I found another one. So I've got two little wild strawberries now. They're tiny, tiny little things, aren't they? And I suppose the germaphobes are going to be worrying that I could have picked these from somewhere that a dog might have weed on. Yeah, it's certainly possible, but I don't feel like I want to go through my life worrying about things like that. Anyway, now how many wild strawberries? I've now had, I think, 4 wild strawberries on this walk. I'm not expecting that it's very likely we'll even get into double figures. It just doesn't quite seem like today is going to be that day. Anyway, cheers. But as I say, what they lack in size, they more than make up for in flavour. And it's a lovely day to be out here anyway. This plant here is called silverweed, and I think the roots of this are edible. This is a thing that people used to dig up and use. It's got a small starchy root. Whenever I've tried to dig them up, like when they've grown as weeds in my garden, never really found very much root underneath them. And of course, can't help but stop and look at the little vetch there. I do like vetches. Okay, I've just spotted down here a couple of wild strawberries, and that might actually be the biggest one I've found today so far. Quite a nice little specimen down there, look at that. And another one just behind it. Oh, and another one over there. So sometimes you'll find a really productive spot. In fact, I can see a couple more over there as well. So I think what I'll do is I'll pick these into the container now, so I'll need both hands for that. So camera off, back in a moment. So there are 2 distinct parts to finding wild strawberries. The first one is obviously finding the wild strawberry plants, but the second one is getting your eye in. And I don't really quite know, this is like training your perception to see the thing that you're looking for. And once you do that, you actually find that it's probably a bit more abundant than you first imagined. I used to find this with picking up sea glass on the beach as well, that it took forever to find the first piece, but then over time your perception gets sort of trained to see the thing that you're looking for, and you get your eye in, and then you find a lot more of it. Just seeing another bit down there. Seeing another couple of berries down there. Only one of those is worth picking. That's probably the best one we've had today. Look at that. By wild strawberry standards, that's quite a whopper. Okay, well this is interesting. At Cubs they always used to teach us don't keep your eyes on the ground, but sometimes if you have your eyes on the ground, you'll see what's above you. And here we've got a cherry tree. Wild cherry tree. The cherries don't look that fantastic. And in fact, all of the ripe ones that would have been within reach have already been munched by blackbirds most likely. But there you go. Cherries. And actually looking up into the tree there, I can see a lot of nice cherries up there. These would be quite bitter to eat, so I'm not going to bother trying to pick any. I think we'll leave these for the birds, but they would be quite good for making flavoured liqueurs, or, you know, if they were cooked with sufficient sugar, they would probably make a nice pie, although there's quite a high ratio of stone to flesh. No, we're not eating that. No. And again, another cherry tree. I can tell it's that one there from the horizontal striations on the bark. Quite a big cherry tree, look at that. And lots of cherries that the wind has either blown onto the ground, or birds, when they've taken one cherry, another one has fallen off. But other birds will come along and eat these off the ground, so pheasants and pigeons and so on will just scoop these all up off the ground, as well as rodents and other animals. So there we go, big cherry tree. Guessing that was a squirrel. I just saw running across the path here, and of course the camera wasn't rolling, a muntjac deer. Yeah, Eva can smell it. Eva, it's long gone. Yeah, no, we're not going to track it. No, sorry. Good girl, but good idea, but we're not doing that. Yeah, it just ran right across the path in front of me. And of course, yes, the camera wasn't rolling. Just down here where we saw those raspberries on the way up, or saw raspberry plants rather, but no fruit. I'm just going to have a little detour off the path and see if there's any raspberries to pick that are slightly out of sight or out of reach of passers-by, because we might be able to get some raspberries to go with our little strawberries. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Well, look at that, there we go. One tiny little wild raspberry. Definitely have that. Wow, it's tiny. In the box with the strawberries, we might be lucky and find, oh, there's a couple more down there. So if we look in here, in amongst the bush, we might find one or two more. I'm going to have to turn the camera off now so I can use both hands, but we'll hopefully find one or two more raspberries. Well, there are a few more there, but they've been eaten. I've just spotted a couple more here. And again, they hide under the leaves. You've really got to get your eye in to find these things. Might be another one up there, but those look a bit munched. Hey, wait a minute. Wow, wow. Also, red currants. Amazing. Well, I'm definitely having those. So, ouch, stinging nettles. So there's only a couple of red ones here. Now, it might just seem like I'm picking random berries here without very much care, but I do know what red currants look like. I have picked these wild before in Norfolk, and actually not far away from here, near Winchester, last year. You can always tell it's a currant bush because if you rub the leaves, have got a kind of musky smell to them. That's not ripe. Is there any more red currants? Now, just thinking about this, what are the chances that we find wild raspberries and wild red currants together in one place? You might be thinking that somebody came and planted these here, but these are both native wild plants. And I think what's actually happened here is this stump or another branch around here is probably the favourite perch of a blackbird, and the blackbird has been off foraging for berries, and this is where the poop came out, and the poop contains the seeds, and the seeds grew into the plants, and that's probably why we've got red currants and raspberries growing so close together. It probably isn't exactly chance. Well, I was just going to eat these in the woods here, but we found red currants, wild strawberries and wild raspberries. I think it's worth taking these back to Atomic Shrimp HQ and see if we can make something a little bit special with them. It's a tiny harvest, but I'm going to make something to hopefully showcase these wild berries. So it's just going to be scones, and I'm not going to go all the way through this recipe because I've got a whole video on just this topic, which is linked in this card and in the video description. So, lovely freshly baked scones, including some little mini ones which hopefully will be just the right size for serving with my berries. In case you're wondering what happened here, this is the remnants from the trimming, which I rolled out thin and then rolled up like a Swiss roll and then sliced. I just thought it'd be interesting to see what happens. Interestingly, you can see the difference again between the ones that were cut from the first batch of the rolled dough and the ones that were cut from subsequent batches from re-rolled trimmings. So this is the first cut. These are made from second rolling of trimmings. These are made from third roll. So we got a tiny scone, tiny strawberries, tiny berries, tiny cream. Everything's tiny. It just fits right in your mouth. It doesn't get stuck in your lips. And there should be just about enough fruit for topping two little scones here. Such a bonus finding these little red currants. I'm so happy with that. Almost made me want to go back because I had 3 red fruits there. Almost made me want to go back and pick some of those red cherries. But it was a long way back, so I didn't bother. There we go, tiny fresh fruit cream tea. Okay, time to give it a proper taste. Literally fruits of the forest. All of these fruits tend to be a little bit less sweet, a little bit more acidic, perhaps a little bit differently flavoured to their cultivated cousins. And was it worth it, walking round the woods for a couple of hours for less than a handful of tiny berries? Well, I'm going to say yes it was, because I had a really nice time, even if I'd come home empty-handed. That was a really nice walk. And I enjoyed looking at the plants and the flowers, just spending time under the leaves. The fact that I actually managed to come home with a small handful of berries to make myself this little cream tea, that's just a bonus. Really happy with that. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.